In this video, we're going to show you how to install a wheel bearing on your Volvo XC60 located behind your front wheels. Using a 19mm socket, we want to get loosen and remove the lug studs. With the lug studs removed, go ahead and remove the wheel. With the wheel removed, we're going to use a 13mm socket, loosen and remove the axle nut. With the axle bolt removed, we want to go ahead and make sure that the CV axle is free from the wheel hub splines itself. So we're going to take a little bit of rust penetrant and spray that in there lightly. Then we're going to use a brass punch here. I want to go ahead and tap this. Now we were able to free that up a little bit. We're going to spray this again. And sometimes you can reach around the backside and grab that CV axle and move that a little bit in and out. And ours is free moving now. Move that CV axle in and out. Now we want to go ahead and break our jam nut free before we separate the outer tie rod from the knuckle. We can use a large pair of pliers. All right, make sure the jam nut spins free from the inner tie rod here, and it does. Using a 21mm socket, let's go ahead and loosen our nut here. Now I'm just going to go ahead and thread this on just a couple threads. Now we're going to use our hammer. We're going to strike the knuckle here. That should release our outer tie rod end here. Make sure you're wearing safety glasses when doing a job like this. Remove that nut. I'm going to throw this back on there for now. On this bracket here, you're going to locate your ABS wire with a rubber grommet. Carefully use 2 fingers on each side of the bracket and pull this out, separating that from the bracket. Now your ABS wire comes down to the sensor itself. Now right on the back side of the harness is a little tab right here. You're going to press in on that and then pull the ABS connector off. You can normally use your thumb, but I use the pocket screwdriver to go ahead and assist in pushing on that. There it is right there. And there's a little tab right there that you're pushing in on. Go ahead and set that aside. Want to remove our caliper and bracket assembly here. It's going to be 2 bolts. This one right here is 18mm, and there's one on the top. I'm going to go ahead, loosen, and remove the lower one first. Now what we're going to do is when this bolt comes out, this whole caliper and bracket is going to come off. You want to hold on to it, and we're going to use a securing hook like this here. We're going to hold it up. We're going to hang it off of our strut spring up top because we don't want to let this hang and pull on this hose. Now the flex hose itself runs up to a bracket on the strut. And it runs up here to this bracket. Now our bracket on our strut is broken. It usually attaches to the back side, but the hose does go through a grommet onto that bracket. You want to go ahead on your vehicle, if that bracket is still there, pull it off of that bracket so that this is free floating. Grab the assembly. Pull it up and out of the way and hang that up top. Now our knuckle itself is clamped onto our strut. There's a 15mm bolt on the back side here. I'm going to get it loosen and remove that. our brake rotor itself is held in place by a T50 Torx bit. If yours does not have this, your rotor is going to be free. You can just go ahead and pull it off and set it aside. Now on the back side here, we have a tin shield. We want to bend this down. When using a pair of needle nose pliers, you can use whatever you have. But this here, if yours has it, it clamps on underneath the ball joint area here in the knuckle, so you can't just pull it off. But we're going to open that up because we need to put a chisel in between the low portion of the knuckle here to open this up after we remove this bolt. So let's go ahead and remove this bolt. It's a 15 millimeter. Now we went ahead and sprayed some rust penetrant around the top here where the strut goes into the knuckle. The next thing we want to do is we're going to take our chisel here and we're going to go up in the back. Right in the back there's a split where the knuckle itself clamps onto the strut tube. So for clearance purposes, I'm going to put this up on the back side and we're going to tap it up to try and open up that knuckle. As we're doing this here, keep on checking the CV axle, make sure that's still sliding in and out and it's not binding. So we have a pry bar going into the back here and it's on top of the lower control arm and it's inside the subframe, and I'm prying down to stretch our suspension downward at an angle. That's going to allow us to go ahead and whack this down off of the strut assembly. Make sure you're wearing safety glasses when doing a job like this. And make sure that your CV axle is still free floating. Just using our brass punch in there. Go ahead and work that CV axle out a little bit. I'm going to pull this out. Go ahead and work that axle out. Just want to pop our strut out of our knuckle assembly. We're going to use our air hammer here to go ahead and try and drive out our ball joint. Go ahead and remove this tin here. And then we're going to go ahead and use some spray solvent and clean this up. Now we have our knuckle set up in the press. I'm going to go ahead and press that bearing out. Remove everything here. Next thing we want to do is go ahead and clean the inside of our knuckle here and prepare this for the new bearing. I'm going to go ahead and press our new hub and bearing into the knuckle. Now on the inside of our knuckle, there is a ridge in there that actually is going to work as a stopper for our bearing and hub assembly. There's right there. You can tell when it's bottomed out. As you see that our bearing is pressed right up against that lip in there. On the upper portion of the knuckle where the strut goes into, we're going to use our chisel to open this up. Now we went ahead and put a thin coat of grease on our strut as well as our ball joint stud. Now with this up in position, we're going to go ahead and put our pry bar down in the lower control arm. Now I need to bring our axle over. I'm going to feed that into the back. Now we're going to go ahead and insert our pry bar and press down on our lower control arm. That way there we can maneuver the ball joint stud up into the knuckle. Now we want to go ahead and manipulate the CV axle into the wheel hub, into the splines. And as the axle goes into the wheel hub, we're going to go ahead and release the pressure and bring the control arm ball joint up into the knuckle. With that popped into place, go ahead and push that axle in, make sure that's seated. Go ahead and rotate this a little bit. And confirm that your strut is fully seated into the knuckle. You can actually see the edge or the bottom edge of the strut just at the edge of the knuckle itself. You're bottomed out there. I'm going to go ahead and remove our chisel here. If you use that to open that up to fit the strut into it. Now on the back side of the strut here, there's going to be a little metal tab that actually fits inside the notch here of the knuckle. If that is not inside the notch and it's off on the side, left or right hand side, and it's sitting on top of the knuckle, then the strut is not lined up or seated properly. Go ahead and continue to rotate the knuckle itself until that drops down inside. And then you'll notice that the bottom side is fully seated, and then install your bolt. Install your upper strut bolt. Get this started a few threads, and we'll go ahead and run that down. We'll go ahead and install a lower ball joint stud here. Now this has to go through, and if it doesn't go through past the ball joint, then that means that the notch in the ball joint stud is not in place. So use your pry bar between the axle and the upper portion of the ball joint and just gently pry it like this here. And once that lines up, that bolt should slip right through. Now our bolt's not going through. That tells me that the ball joint stud is not lined up. I'm going to go ahead and use my hammer and tap up on this. You might have to work this back and forth a little bit in order to get that to line up. Now that we have the bolt through, let's go ahead and snug it down. Let's torque down the lower bolt here, lower ball joint bolt to 81 foot-pounds. Torque the strut to knuckle bolt to 22 foot-pounds. So after you installed everything here, you want to go ahead and apply some anti-seize compound to the face of the hub. Go ahead and grab that rotor, line that up, set that into place. Now if you have the set screw for this, you want to go ahead and install that now. Be sure to clean the surface of your brake rotor on the front as well as the back. go ahead and unhook our brake caliper and bracket. Let's swing it on over here, slide it into place, and we'll get our bolt started. Get that upper bolt run in a little bit. Then we can go ahead and install the lower bolt. Then we might have to grab that bracket assembly and just wiggle it in and out until you get that to line up. Good, torque these down to 147 foot-pounds. Install the flex hose for your brakes into the strut bracket here. Install the ABS rubber grommet into the lower portion of our bracket here. Install the ABS connector to the sensor itself. You're going to feel it and hear it click into place. Now, anytime you remove an axle bolt on this particular model vehicle, you do want to go ahead and replace it because these are a torque to yield bolt. They should not be reused. Install that bolt. We did put a little bit of grease on that bolt. We're going to thread that in and we're going to snug that down gently. Now our torque specs call for 25 foot-pounds plus 90 degrees. Go ahead and grab your screwdriver and put it inside one of the cooling fins here. Lock that in place. There's our 25. And let's go ahead and do 90 degrees. Our axle bolt is now torqued. Remove your screwdriver. Before installing your wheel, I like to go ahead and grab a lug stud, set it up inside the socket like so. Set that aside. Now ideally, I like to go ahead and line up one of these studs here at 12 o'clock. I'm going to grab my wheel, line up one of those studs at 12 o'clock. Support that on my leg. And grab that stud in my socket and get that top center started. Go ahead and thread that in a few threads. Once you have that in a few threads, go ahead and get the other ones started. Now once we have all of these started, we can come back and zip them down with our gun. When snugging these down, I like to do it in a crisscross pattern or a star pattern. And you're just going to bottom those out, snug, but don't tighten them. Let's go ahead and torque down our lug nuts to 103 foot-pounds. When doing this here, it's best if we do it in a crisscross or star pattern. At that point there, you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.